Welcome everyone, and here's another video. Today I wanted to talk about my new lens that I've got here, which is the 100 to 400 IS lens, the Mark II. I just wanted to talk about the elements and aspects of what this lens can do, the specifications, and hopefully this video will be helpful. Right, this lens is a 4.5 to 5.6 IS version 2 USM lens that delivers very sharp images. Also high contrast images, and uses a fluorite and super ultra low dispersion super UD lens element. The elements tackle artifacts and distortion. Basically, this lens offers three forms of stabilization when you're actually moving the lens. So you've got basically a button on here which says mode 1, mode 2 and mode 3. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but that's basically what's on there. So basically mode 1 is if you go in like that and it tries to stabilize the lens. You might have very shaky hands. That's an over-exaggeration, but that's what's happening. Mode 2 is useful when you're panning like that. And mode 3 is for if you're trying to pan but your hands are a bit shaky and doing that at the same time. So those are the three modes of stabilization in terms of the selection of the stabilizer mode that you can choose. Don't get that confused with the actual stops available in this lens in terms of stabilization. In Canon's own words, a 3-mode image stabilizer guards against blur from camera shake, showing handheld shooting with shutter speeds up to 4 stops slower than normal. Now, there's been a bit of confusion. People are saying it's got 3 levels of stabilization. There's a bit of confusion. Some people on YouTube and other forums are saying you're only getting 3 levels of stop stabilization, but in fact, in Canon's own words, you're getting 4 levels of stabilization. What that means is you can basically use the lens at very slow shutter speeds. When I say 4 stops, that's in relation to how slow you actually can go in terms of shutter speeds. I think old school shutter speed increments tended to be 30th of a second, 60th of a second, I think it was then 125th of a second, and then 250th of a second, and that's going up. These days most people use aperture priority, so you're adjusting your actual aperture, which is the size of the hole that lets light in. So obviously 5.6 is quite a small hole like that lets light in. So obviously it does mean you can come down in shutter speed. The only problem with that is if you've got fast moving objects in your viewfinder, such as cars or birds, having a good IS might not help you, because they're moving fast and the IS can't compensate for that. So just keep that in mind. Normally in those circumstances you need to up your ISO a little bit to compensate for that. Obviously that will introduce noise. When people say noise, basically what they mean is grain in the image. If you're old school and you used to use film, or you still use film, that's what noise is, basically grain in the image, which obviously can be noisy. Well, that's why it's called noise, and obviously obscures your vision or the image, making it not so clear or crystal clear. But obviously there are instances where you have to use that noise and that grain in your image. An example would be if you're a newspaper photographer and it's at night and you want to get a picture, or you're the paparazzi trying to get a picture of royalty or something like that in the dark. You've got no choice. You have to have noise in your image. Even with some of the latest full frame cameras, you're still going to get some noise no matter what, because you can't always use flash, because obviously sometimes it can be dangerous in certain instances. For example, if you take a picture of someone moving in a car, I think the police might frown upon you using flash under those circumstances. So yes, that's what noise means in your image. Now with the new 100 to 400 lens, you are able to shoot into light because the lens has multi-layered air sphere coatings in the actual lens, which Canon call the ASC. It basically protects the lens against flare, ghosting and reduced contrast. So the ASC uses a multi-layer coating to reduce reflections, including a layer of nanonized air spheres deposited onto the lens surface to basically slow down light more gradually as it enters the lens. This prevents the internal reflections that reduce image quality. So obviously that's a bit about the technical babble that Canon have issued about the lens and the elements in terms of the multi-coatings on the actual elements. So I hope that's been a bit more informative on what obviously the new lens is all about. Obviously the new lens has a tightening ring on it basically. Basically the new lens has a tightening ring on it, which basically allows you to adjust the amount of zooming in terms of how easy it is to zoom. Because this lens is quite new, so I hold it up like that. The lens isn't coming down due to the weight of the lens, but over time it will start to loosen up over time. But what you can do is you can tighten the ring so it makes it tighter, and then you can feel there's resistance there. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but there is some resistance with me tightening that ring that's on there. A lot of complaints with the ring that was on the old Mark I lens was when you moved the actual focusing, that moved with it. But this doesn't do that, so it's quite a handy lens to have, and obviously it won't move when you move the actual focusing ring. So obviously it's a lot better than the Mark I for that reason. Now this lens has a USM motor in it, so it's ultra fast for acquiring focus, and it is fantastic at doing so. So what I'll do is I'll do some tests so you can see it actually working, and then you get an idea of the focusing speed and acquisition of this lens, albeit quite a dark room. So I'll give you some examples of that. What's good about this lens is it can focus up to 98 centimeters away, which is quite an impressive achievement for Canon and any sort of lens like this. For example, this is the 300 f4 lens, which is prime, very popular in the wildlife photographers, and on this particular one it's 1.5 meters, so basically it's half a meter further away than this lens can focus to, and this is 300 and that goes up to 400, although it's probably closer to 370 millimeters. But if you stick a crop body on that, you're going to get like 540 millimeters. Sorry, if you stick a crop body on this, you're going to get about 540 millimeters. I think that's what it is. So it's extremely good if you stick a 7D on it, a 600D, 700D, 70D, 700D. Any crop body will be brilliant on this. But obviously you will get improved sharpness using a full frame body such as the 1DX. Now this lens is ideal for shooting in the weather. Basically it's an L series lens, obviously it's USM, so it's fast focusing, and it is sealed against dust and moisture, so you can keep shooting with no problems. Even if the weather conditions turn quite bad, it has a fluorite coating on the lens front element and repels dust, making the lens easy to clean. So you shouldn't have any problems with cleaning the lens. So that's the roundup of the Canon 100-400 Mark II lens. All the information I've provided here is directly from Canon's own website. I just wanted to break that down for everyone so they get an honest opinion of what Canon is saying about it, what my thoughts about it, and obviously I'm going to give you some more examples. What I've done is I've taken some photographs of a Cylon character that I've got in this room, and I'm just showing you some examples of what it can do. I hope this little video has been helpful about the ins and outs of this particular lens. Obviously we've talked about the stabilizer modes 1, 2 and 3. You have your stabilizer on and off button, obviously. You have autofocus and manual focus. Now you do have full-time manual override, so even if you're in autofocus you can get on there and manually adjust if you want to. And I think manual focus is a forgotten art, and it's a fantastic lens for that. And obviously you've got 2 focusing modes, which is 3 meters to infinity, and then obviously you've got full focusing. Here you have the tripod mount. Here's a knob to loosen it, allows you to move it. It's quite smooth actually, and quite nice feeling. So you can tighten it with that knob on there. And the tripod mount collar here, you can take off and remove from the mount, and it does take a little bit of weight off, not a lot. I think most people, especially in the field, will basically have it like so they can carry it, and it's not a big issue then. Okay, the last thing I haven't mentioned is the lens hook, which just clicks on like so, and it clicks into place, and it makes the lens look quite longer actually, and quite professional, doesn't it? Basically it has a little door there that allows you to basically move and adjust your polarizing filters or your ND filters. Filmmakers will love that. Photographers will like the ability to basically adjust the polarizer filter in there. And that's basically the roundup of the Canon lens 100-400. Fantastic lens, does the job. Check out the example of the Cylon character that I've done at the end of this little video I'm doing. Okay everyone, to round up my review of the 100-400 Canon lens, I'm just going to do some focusing tests so you can have a look and see for yourself how quickly it focuses. Obviously this room isn't that brightly lit, so obviously the focusing might not be brilliant. Camera we're going to be using is a 600D Rebel camera. Something I forgot to mention is the filter thread will be 77mm. So if you need a filter, polarizer filter, ND filter, you want to be looking for a 77mm thread basically. So just check out the focusing, and thank you for watching. Right, so we're basically taking a photo of the Cylon character you just saw behind me. So we're going to set it to the closest that it'll focus to, which is 98 centimeters. So we just need to do so, and then focus at 100mm. But this is a crop sensor camera, so obviously take into consideration. I just need to correct myself. Basically when you take the crop factor into account, you're getting a 160mm zoom lens to 640mm. So I just hope that clears it up. So as I said, we're using a 600D, but we'll set it to the closest to focusing, and I'll show you basically the focusing at various zoom ranges on this lens. So at the 100mm setting, we're going to test it. Let's change it to infinity at 100mm. Quite snappy. So let's change the focal range to 135. Change it to minimum focus again and try again. And then to infinity. So again, change that to minimum focus, and let's try it at 200mm. Change that to infinity. And there you go, quite snappy. So let's change it to 300mm on the range of this lens. Change it to minimum focus again at 98cm. It's a bit slower. Let's go to infinity. Quite slow. 400mm. Let's change it to the minimum focus. About the same. And change it to infinity. About the same as the 300mm range. It's important to note that you can change the focal range because there is a switch on the lens basically for full focusing and from 3 meters to infinity. So that's my roundup of the focusing. Hope you enjoyed my video and thanks for watching. Right, thanks for watching. In the next part of this video you're going to see some examples of the Cylon character we've got here in the back. Basically different focal ranges, and I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.